much for introduction. My name is Alex. I'm going to tell you about our findings while auditing a huge amount of websites. But first of all, let me ask, who knows what Serpstat is? Just raise your hands. Okay, and who uses Serpstat on a daily basis? Okay, cool. I won't give much words who we are, then I'll just start my speech. And I want to firstly apologize for my English. It's not so perfect, but I hope you'll understand something from what I'm saying. In Serpstat, we have an audit model which checks for 80 plus parameters, and we are going to add a lot more. And today I want to share some insights in our internal process. We rolled up a cool feature yesterday. It is invisible for users, but it vastly improves the speed of our audits, so you can go and check after the conference. You can take a huge website with a lot of pages and try to check them. You'll see an improvement in speed. So I'm going to tell you about the state of Western SEO according to our internal research. We do not make one-time research. We are always researching for something that we can take as a feature for our service. So this is the plan, so let's do this. The most common SEO mistakes that we see when we crawl websites is this one. The first is meta tag mistakes, and second is indexing mistakes. I use a term SSL in here, and for guys who were on previous talks, the guy said that SSL is old term, so I'll just use that, and we will all understand that SSL and TLS is quite an evolutionary, the same thing. So my next question for you, for meta tags mistakes. Who thinks that Google for snippets, for making snippets, takes the description meta tag, takes the content of a description meta tag in all the times? So you just need to add something in description meta tag, and it will be shown in search results. Who thinks that it is true? No. Okay. Who thinks that Google takes a part of content from the web page and show it as a snippet in Google search results? Okay, so we got this distribution. So content from description meta tag is quite important. It's almost the half of all the cases, but I think the most important thing in here is that sometimes the content of the snippet is built with both. So you can see one part of snippet is from meta description and other part is from body text. It's quite an interesting finding, because I was always sure that there are no cases when this third variant happens, but it does, and it's not really a rare case. So I will give you in this presentation some kind of combination of our findings and some other services or features that we use in our work, or we tell our clients to use. For example, for auditing impact of traffic spikes or huge amount of traffic, you can use tool called load impact to simulate some kind of new traffic coming to your site and see how it slowly dies while you get more and more traffic. But this tool is not very useful for big websites. For quite small, it's rather good. So let's move to the next thing. Our users quite often ask us about how many internal or external links is it possible to use on our pages. We look at our stats and see that according to our audits, we see this distribution when we have more than 160 internal links and 7 external links, but in my opinion, 7 external links per page, it's quite a huge amount of external links for SEO purposes, and I think we have some data leak in our findings, and we count all the requests to the external sources, meaning that the host of request is not the same as the host of the site that you are auditing. So in this case, it's quite normal, but for just for external links, it's too much, 7 per page. It is useful for you to monitor the content of web pages, like when, for example, for content marketing, you see that you add some links, delete some links, change the text, or maybe your development team adds some stuff to the site that you don't know when it appears on your website. So you can use such tools for visual changes on your website. It is better for use these tools than just to crawl the web pages. For example, when you have some kind of dynamic content that change the page every time you reload it, you will get an alert. With these tools, you just crop the part of your website and get the alert when just this part is changing. Okay. Next insight is about blocking bots from indexing. There is a great hidden opportunity to block a bot from indexing using Xrobot's HTTP header. Only 3% of all websites that we audited use this HTTP header, but it's really useful. For example, when you have a staging server or like development server, testing server, and you have to close it from indexing, you can use HTTP header, because when you use something like no index, no follow meta tags, and then you deploy your website to production, you always forget to remove this meta tags, and with HTTP header you can just make different configurations for different web servers and use this header only on some kind of development environment. So the next question is pagination. How to deal with pagination, or maybe paging, whatever. You can do nothing. You can block it from indexing, and you can use prev next and canonical, like Google always tell us. Maybe other search engines have some different recommendations, but we will look at Google. Let's look at big Western websites, how they do this. They use quite a standard scheme. They use prev and next and canonical, but it is interesting that sometimes canonicals are misused because when you use prev, next, and canonical, there is always a question, where should I point my canonical links? Should I point to the first page of pagination? Should I point to the current page of pagination? The Google logic tells us that we should put canonical links to the current page, or build a separate page with all the content from the pagination pages and point our canonicals to that page. But for foreign companies, we see that a lot of them use the scheme when canonical link points to current page. But as you see, sometimes even big guys make some weird mistakes. For example, on this slide, we see that in canonical link, they use something different from the current page link. So we have some mix of pagination changes and canonical changes, and it is not really good. You should not do that if you have pagination chains. You should stay inside these pagination chains with your canonicals, because it makes a lot of mess for search engine to understand the logic that you are using. When you, for example, try to change something in your pagination or block some pages from indexing, it is always useful to understand, did something happen? Did you do something for your SEO purposes, or you just waste your money on your development team? To be able to know were there any changes, you can use the tool called Causal Impact. It shows you the event, this line is when something happened, and later on the graph you can see that this event did a lot of damage for us, because our KPI in this example, it was traffic, it was number of sessions, that our number of sessions declined after this event. So for example, if I change my pagination in here, then I have some data about sessions, for example, from Google Analytics. I can use this tool to see if it was a good idea or it was a bad idea. In this case, it was a really bad idea, and also the tool says to us that it is a significant difference. We can be sure that we did not do any good things for us. The next question is, should we use folders or subdomains? For example, for some Russian, Ukrainian websites and other Eastern countries, sometimes it is preferred to use subdomains, because we have Yandex and Yandex likes subdomains, because you can set a region for each subdomain. But for Google it is not so. Nevertheless, there's a quite huge part of guys who use subdomains for their regional branches. When, according to our data, people usually use subdomains, it's mass media, it's some kind of directories, as I said, regional branches, marketplaces, and some landings for a city or some kind of region. But I think for landings it's not really necessary, but our stats show that people usually use that for unknown reason. Next tip for you to see the impact of some changes on your website is when, for example, you want to change the structure of your website from subdomains to folders, or vice versa, it doesn't matter. You want to know how much it will impact your organic sessions, for example. You can use the tool, there is links for all the tools in here. You can use a tool to see the forecast for the next period. For example, this is a graph of website traffic. It's about 3 years, and we want to see what we will get if we do nothing, for example. We have our subdomains and we will do nothing. We will get the traffic like this for the next year, and it should be not less than here and no more than here. If we make changes in our website and see that the actual traffic is going out of these green borders, then this change is significantly influencing our current metrics. In this case, it is website traffic. SSL, as I said, sorry for the old term, but according to our statistics, only the half of websites use SSL and the other half do not use SSL. So it is not really obvious to use SSL or not. There are a lot of cases where you just don't need it. Static websites with no forms, with some kind of demands in page speed, they do not need SSL because there is nothing to steal from here. There is no data leaks that can be used by hijacking your current web protocol. hreflangs. There's a quite interesting story with hreflangs. We usually have the errors with hreflangs for every website that use this directive. And the most interesting part with hreflangs is that you can hurt your indexing if it is misused. For example, we had an interesting case when the site used hreflangs without country specification, and all the search results change from day to day to different languages. So one day I'll see Russian language in search results, next day I see Ukrainian language in search results, and the pages with other language, they are just dropped from indexing at all. So this is like some kind of Google game. They show one day this language, other day this language, and when we added the country code to the hreflang specification, everything just got still and correct. Page speed. There is an interesting theory among SEO specialists that page speed does really matter. It impacts on our SEO KPIs like visibility, positions, maybe organic traffic. But according to our findings, there's a little interesting story that I will show you in a few next slides. So let's see an onload event distribution by country. So, for example, for desktop and for mobile, it is quite obvious that on mobile devices, our website will entirely be loaded slower than on desktop devices. But more interesting KPI is first contentful paint. When the user see some picture on his monitor or on his device, you see that on mobile and desktop devices, right here, the top of all the bars is quite the same. So there is no perceptual difference for the users on different devices. And for example, if you have a slow website that is painted very fast on the first screen, then the user can interact with it. There is no reason for speed up your website if the user can interact with your website, and it really doesn't matter if he or she uses desktop or mobile device. Also, you can see I've added Bulgarian websites to here, yes, and they are quite fast, and my congratulations, but I think it's another data leak in our research, because we don't have a lot of Bulgarian websites. So if we get more statistics, I doubt that this graphs for Bulgarian websites will still the same. And every cool presentation should have word correlation in it. So here are my correlations, and as you see, the correlations of some main SEO KPIs like visibility, organic traffic, and improved or declined keywords is zero. So there is no direct relation between page speed and any kind of SEO KPIs. It's the data that told us this. I don't say that you don't need to speed up your websites, because it's always an improvement in conversion when your site loads faster, but there is obviously no improvement for any SEO KPIs, and if you are going to speed up your website only to get some improvement in traffic or visibility, no, you won't get it. Accelerated mobile pages, for me, it's quite unused tool in our today world, but the 8% of all the websites are currently using accelerated mobile pages, and it's quite a big part. I had in my experience some sites with accelerated mobile pages, and we had a lot of problems, especially with website tracking. Sometimes it breaks and you have to fix it. So it's up to you to choose to use this technology or not. And these guys who use accelerated mobile pages are usually some kind of informational websites. For e-commerce, there are quite few websites in our database who use accelerated mobile pages. Viruses. It's another leak in our data, because we only had a degree of percent of websites who does have some viruses at the moment of scanning. I think it's a leak because all our users are well equipped with knowledge of viruses and some kind of that stuff, and Google tell us usually when our site have some viruses. So I think all the users just fix it quick, and we don't see it in our scanning. But there are some interesting cases when Google alerts that the website is malicious when it is not. For example, if you are linking to external website that is malicious or have some viruses like that, Google will show that your website is malicious too. We had that problem with Serpstat. One day we came in the morning, open the Google Serp, and we see that alert that our website is hijacked. We were definitely sure that there is no any malicious code on our website, but we had parser that get this tiny pictures called fav icons from different websites, and we get these tiny pictures from sites with viruses, and Google said that we are malicious tool too. So for you not to get in this situation, there is a cool tool called Sneak. It checks all the open source packages that you use on your website for viruses. So if your website is some kind of building with a lot of building blocks from different sources, and you are not sure that all these blocks are secure, you can use this tool to check your website, and it will show you that maybe your website has some suspicious code. And at the end, tracking systems, it was a surprise for me that a lot of websites do not use Google Analytics. And these statistics is based on the on the sites with the biggest amount of organic traffic. So only the third part of all websites use Google Analytics. For example, for comparison, you can see that only 0.1% use Yandex Metrica. So if you have a big website, sometimes it is better to build your own tracking system, because you run out of Google Analytics free limits, and you have to buy Google Analytics 360, which is a lot of money per year. This just shows you the useful tool for removing spam from your Google Analytics. The link is here, and that's all for today. Thank you.
Because we are running ahead with time, if we have time only for one question, I will promise I'll give you the one who is there enough to ask question present. Is there someone? Okay, because there is no question, probably it's good to say that because it's for the beginners, I think the lecture was announced as beginners. Probably it's good to tell that there is a free trial, I think, in Serpstat.
We have a freemium model. You can just register and try the tool.
Okay, so give it up for Alex. Thank you.
Thank you.